Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Rebecca and Ugly Duckling. That was really, it's been so special to watch all of these different program sessions. Just so appreciative of everyone coming together to do this. I want to thank you, viewers who are here. Thank you so much for being here. And it's amazing to share this space with an international coalition of writers. My name is Noah Ross, and I'm zooming in from Berkeley, California, representing Small Press Traffic, who with David Buuck of Tripwire, thank you, David, have programmed this upcoming hour. We wanted to send our huge thanks to our organizers, Ghazal Mossadegh and Tracy Grinnell, and the entire coalition of organizers who have come together in solidarity with the Palestinian people, those who are in Gaza and elsewhere, and with an international community demanding justice, demanding a ceasefire that is not just temporary, demanding an end to dispossession and ethnic cleansing to save free Palestine. Thank you all for being here, our fellow organizers, to our tech support, Vince and Daniel, and to our amazing readers. My job is just to briefly introduce the readers of the videos you will see. We've got a first selection of some video recordings, and that will be followed by live readers who are introduced by David Buuck. So first up, we've got a video from Wawa. Wawa is a poet from Hong Kong, an organizer and a student in Boston, followed by Lara Mimosa Montes, who is the author of Thresholds from Coffee House Press, that's 2020. Then you will see a video from Zêdan Xelef, who is a poet and translator from Mesopotamia. They're the author of A Barcode Scanner from Kashkul Books in 2022, and currently attends the MFA program at SF State. Then you'll see a video from Owen Hill, the author of mystery novels, short fictions, and several books of poetry, and a video from Amitai Ben Abba, who wrote and produced the award-winning documentary Objector in 2019 and has published fiction, poetry, nonfiction, and journalism on a variety of platforms, including The Independent, Haaretz, Counterpunch, Witness, Your Impossible Voice, Tripwire, and Plus 972 magazine. And then you'll see David Buuck introducing the rest of our lineup. Thanks all for being here.
Hi everyone, my name is Wawa, and I'm a Hong Kong poet and a former Hong Kong organizer in the Bay Area. And this is my son King. I want to include him in this reading. Thank you so much, Noah, for inviting me to this poetry reading. And I'm really honored and very grateful for the opportunity to express my solidarity and my heart and my soul with the people in Palestine. And thank you for all the organizers who make this happen. I'm currently in Boston, and I'm a new mother, and also I'm still writing. I'm a student at Harvard Divinity School right now, exploring and cultivating sacred poetry. I'm going to read 4 new poems that I wrote in the midst of this war. And 3 of them are prayers. Post-mortem sky, blood spell rising from earth, locked down sea, yanked by the roots, eye of the eclipse, riding in on thunder, from the 10 directions, fold mountains in a gossamer, cyclone eye guarding, frozen fresh gold jade, Udambera flower can't bear it, spits a strand of light, setting in motion an upright mortal coil. 1,000 thoughts reincarnate, heavenward, both hands extend, sureness, clap of manifold spirits. Tender leaf grow. Clap of manifold spirits, 10 fingers unfurling twigs, tender leaf grow, from here on, disown heaven and earth. Speak words, let me show you the daisies blooming beneath your breath. A whole garden glitters under your skin, facing the sun of your heart. But to tell you the truth, if you draw a line from thumb to bone, that's the distance your pains traveled, and how long your flowers haven't seen the sun. The daffodils, the lilies, need your grief to grow. Come, be gentle with your rain cloud. Let it come down in my cupped hands. I am the soil to your withered leaves. Am I not your rain? When you close your eyes, I protect you from the sky. When you fall, am I not the door that opens in time? and sees you fully. Come close to me, I do not blink from your songs or your thorns. A blade of grass can't be too tall to tell a joke that no world hears. If beauty runs too deep, and if that hurts you, you shall remain alone. But no, no cloud ever reigns alone. Am I not your rain? Hold me. Touch me with your lips. Even if the sun dies, I am still here, behind your eyes. The last poem that I'm going to read is a poem that I wrote on behalf of Cain. So, in a way, you can say that he is the poet of this poem, and he is 11 months old. He wants to write it. And then there's a poem for the children in Palestine who didn't live past 11 months old. So, are you gonna read? You children of tomorrow, did the sun set too soon? You hadn't seen yet what a butterfly looks like. I'll see it for you. Was father late to pick you up? You hadn't spoken a word yet of what you'd become. I speak it for you. You hadn't even ever set foot on the earth and learned to say, I'm home to mother. I'll cross the world for you. Sleep, sleep, children of tomorrow. You've arrived home. In every mote of dust is a dream you left behind. And I, the children of tomorrow, will pick it up and carry on. Thank you, everybody. And it's, again, our great honor to be here. Take care.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lara Mimosa Montes. I am joining from a pre-recorded video. Apologies, I'm in Wyoming, but I'm so grateful this is happening. I have been thinking about how the case for Puerto Rican solidarity with Palestine is so obvious. And I don't know if there's more to say besides that. But I wanted to share an older poem that was published in the Poetry Project, and I feel the solidarity with everyone so deeply. I'm sad I can't be there now, but I'm with you in my own way. This poem is called Under the Gaze of the Others. But no one talked about Fanon that spring, not once, or the restructuring of the world, its borders, our loss. And to make the something shimmer, we let it bruise us if we are complicit. And I was because desire, because whiteness. But then my name would not be my name, and I wouldn't have to rely on this principle of accretion to say something profound like, imagine writing for the someone on the other side of yourself, a stranger undone by the love of another stranger. A pastness so past I could not forget its goneness. Thank you to everyone who participated to put this reading together, and all my love to Palestine and everyone affected by the events that are ongoing, and hoping for a ceasefire soon, so soon, sooner than before you even get this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zêdan Xelef. We need to stand against genocide and aggression in all languages. Today, I'm reading two of my translations into Kurmanji, the first of which is my translation of my friend's Vadi Juda's poem titled Then my friend in Nablus had a dream. باشي هفالي من نابلس يخون جديد. باشي هفالي من نابلس يخون جديد. روج شعافا وهلات. كو أو لسر نميجا خبو. لسر قادكش مرمار. لسر عاقير. هركس للراف. لأو هر لسر نمي ما. تني آرامي لدل. دورة آرامي هلشو. لو لركهك هيسني دقريداي. لو بدي وكيف قريداي. لو دي وشترفي ركهي. كاوتشتي وبو. ندوار بو. لدي وجرابو. أو لشيشة ركهي هلاويد. دوباره و سێبارە لۆ هلاوێت تخوازێ دەرینێ لێ گەڕتینێ با لۆ دێوە دەخوەست دە هەڤالێم ئازادکی یادا قورتینی هەڤالێمێ تنزانی لۆ بخوینێ شۆشتی لاش ڕەش و شین دەمێ ساڵێ جڕیا باشین دەستێ سبێ وەردێ دەستێ نمێ The second of which is a translation of Mus'ab Abu Taha's poem titled My Grandfather and Home. Babire minu mal Babire me روجش بركب فقري معين سرتلية خواد هجمارتن دوروي بكفرو كوچا روش هجمارتن لإيدي تير نكر وهجمارتن أور چوك خلق دوری درکت دور درێژ پشتی 36 ساڵە و مر والمە بوو 70 ساڵ و سەر بابیرێ مە بیرە خۆندا کرد هژمار ji بیر kirin خەلک jî mal ji bîr kir xweziyê zilçem te bû babîro minê xwe hîn kir ji te re binivîsim helbestê dîwanên tijî û mal me ji te re nîgar kim minê ji axê ji te re dirwa bagerasek xemla wî gul û giya û darê te bi xwe çandîn minê givaşt be ji te re ji pirteqalan lewenteyek û sabûnek ji kelegiriya esmanan tiştekî zelatir li bîra min nayê ez her roj diçim ser zehman ez her roj li gora te digerim lê bêlî din ew pişt rastin wan divê şartî yan di bûyî darek dibe firyabê biçûke bîr heta necîstanî ez sûreta te dikim taseke axî ez her dişem û sêşem roj li ava av didim min bihîst tu li van rojan bi rojî dibûyî li heyva remedanê ez her roj av didim ji bo rojan ya kêm ya zêde tu dixwazî mala me çendê mezin be ez karim helbestê li bê helbestê binivîsim heta tu têr nebî heke tu bixwazî ez karim hesarek ya li doj hesarên cînar bi ser vekim bi ser vekim ji malê re sinûrekî dananim ne jî xalbendiyekê
Hi, I'm Owen Hill, and I'm going to read a poem by Kieran Carson, an Irish poet. Comes from another occupied and oppressed part of the world, and I think sadly it's fitting here also. It's called Belfast Confetti. Suddenly, as the riot squad moved in, it was raining exclamation marks. Nuts, bolts, nails, car keys, a fount of broken type, and the explosion itself, an asterisk on the map. This hyphenated line, a burst of rapid fire. I was trying to complete a sentence in my head, but it kept stuttering. All the alleyways and side streets blocked with stops and colons. I know this labyrinth so well. Balaclava, Raglan, Inkerman, Odessa Street. Why can't I escape? Every move is punctuated. Crimea Street, dead end again. A. Sassarin, Kremlin 2 mesh, mackerel on face shields, walkie-talkies. What is my name? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? A fusillade of question marks. Thank you.
Hi, this is David Buuck. I'm going to introduce the live readers, but before that, I will read a section of a poem from Amatal Ben Abba, whose video we weren't able to upload in time. Amatal Ben Abba wrote and produced the award-winning documentary Objector and has published fiction, poetry, nonfiction, journalism on a variety of platforms, including the independent Haaretz, Counterpunch, Witness, Your Impossible Voice, Tripwire, and 972. This is a section from his poem Prison Break. I apologize for I'm reading this cold, and my apologies for any mispronunciations. Before reading this aloud, take a deep breath. Let all of your air out at once, making the sound pff. The little morning, the hill in the south, thorns and dry wheat, arid dying fields, snakes, fauna of the tamed, untamed border, non-border land, the sun low, not yet scorching in early spring, high, the still blue sky. Take a deep breath. Let all of your air out at once, making the sound pff. Take another deep breath. Let all your air out at once, making the sound pff. The little morning, the hill in the south. The gazes on a fence, the hill, tall metal stretching as far as the eye can. Never mind, barbed wire on the scrub land like a thicket of overgrown bushes, a trench, a camouflage tarp, flat, stretched. Behind the hill in the distance, the squat houses of a kibbutz closes ranks. Make the sound pff, then pff. What else on the hill in the south in that little morning? A soldier under the tarp, stretched, flat with camo hat drooping over their head like a sexy veil. Another soldier, a row of them, awkward turtles. Through the crosshairs, a procession or a carnival or both, balloons, falafel stands, 1,000, 10,000 flags. And up the field, a figure walked toward the fence. Take a deep breath, let the air out with short, neurotic exhalations through your nose. He's wearing a dirty white tank top, dark pants. He's walking quickly, straight back toward the fence. He has wire cutters, someone says. He carries them in one hand. He furrows his brows. He is handsome. His chin is strong, cheekbones high. He is thin and lean. He's between the crosshairs. He knows. He is ready. Now, simulated airplane taking off and making the sound. You're at the airport. You're standing in a line folding in on itself like your intestines. Quote, I watched that film about the Holocaust. It was awful. Quote, I finished my tour in 92. Haven't seen much action. Quote, no, listen to me, Chelsea. No, listen, no. If stretched flat on the ground, this line would be longer than the entire Gaza Strip. To read the next part aloud, get born in Queens and never in your life go as far as the Central Park Zoo. 25 miles long and 4 to 7 miles wide. This is the extent of your movement. He's an idealized version of himself. He looks like a Pulitzer-winning photograph. He looks like a still life, still history. He has never left the strip, but he is walking. His forehead furrows. He is in the crosshairs. The soldier is sweating. To read the next part of the poem aloud, visit a hospital. Take 20 gallons of red paint with you. Imagine the hospital 10 times smaller, 100 times more crowded, and operating on 2 hours of electricity a day. Pour the paint along the corridors. You receive a letter from your friend, the Canadian doctor. For the first couple of days, I was still in shock of the violence of it. The protesters would go up to the fence and come back with bullet wounds. Drones would fly over us to drop screens of rolling tear gas, and I would suffocate, oozing more liquid than I thought it could contain, from eyes and mouth and nose all at once, the glands throbbing. But I quickly learned the patterns of it, how to evade the big hit of gas, how to anticipate the waves of injuries, the tides of blood. I got accustomed to the horror, and I could absorb the greatness. I felt it under my skin, a kind of euphoria when I would breathe and take in the world around me that would sometimes erupt in climax. When a boy directed his kite right into the drone and the string ensnared the propellers and it came down, the buzzing metallic menace, the joy of it, the cheers. I was part of it. We all were, making history by being bodies here together. And again, that was Amitai Ben Abba. And I'll now introduce our remaining readers. Before that, I'd like to thank the organizers, particularly Tracy and Gazelle, who navigated us through the urgency of the moment with patience and grace. And thank you to Vince and Daniel and the other tech people, without whom none of this would be working. And to Noah and Small Press Traffic for collaborating on this hour. So I'm going to introduce the remaining readers and then they can proceed. Stevie Redwood is a disabled Toisanese Jewish neuroinsurgent introvert, homo trash, little dreamer, big mouth bitch living and dying in Frisco. They're unimpressed by scene queers, artifice, and pacifism. They're fond of shit talk, porch sitting, leaf litter, and riffraff. They dream a different end of the world. Wendy Trevino lives and works in San Francisco. Her first book-length collection of poems, Cruel Fiction, was published by Commune Editions in September 2018. Ari Banias is the author of Asymmetry, which won the 2022 Publishing Triangle Award for Trans and Gender Variant Literature, and Anybody, both from W.W. Norton. His work has been supported by numerous fellowships and residencies and has been published in American Poetry Review, Triple Canopy, The Nation, Georgia Review, The New Republic, Hypoallergic, The Yale Review, and Best, among others. Sophia Dahlin is a poet in the East Bay where she leads generative poetry workshops and teaches youth creative writing. With Jacob Kahn, she edits a small chapbook press called Islet. Her first book, Natch, was released in 2020 by City Lights. Scout Fallers, a poet and rarely bored. They're trans, tired, and sans MFA. They've been published in Had, Bruiser, and Hot Pink, with poems forthcoming in Mercury Furs and Lowly Dirt Children. They live in San Francisco with their girlfriend and their cat. Anahid Nersessian is the author, most recently, of Keats' Odes, A Lover's Discourse, published by the University of Chicago Press in 2021 and Verso in 2022. She teaches at UCLA. Thanks, y'all. Solidarity, and on to Stevie.
Hi, thank you so much to all of the organizers and everyone who's reading. I'm gonna have my camera off and the poems that I'm reading should be on the screen so that people can read along if they want to. I'm gonna start with a poem that I wrote last night after talking with Wendy Trevino, who's also reading this hour, again about what poetry can't do. This is called In Gaza. In Gaza, people aren't condemning Hamas or Lion's Den or Sarai al-Quds or the Qassam brigades who give up bombs and bullets and blood and lives for liberation in 3 dimensions. Extract 39 Palestinians from the hell of occupation jails. Sarah Abdallah greets the ground with shin and palm and prayer, cries, I am so proud of Hamas. I love them. I love Palestine. I love Gaza so much. On being freed, Hanan Barghouti says, "Long live the resistance, which is busy, tanking tanks point blank on foot by hand positioning hand grenades and warheads." The freedom fighters know diplomacy will never liberate Palestine. The diplomats insist on Palestine being Israel, and Israel being an eternal state of grace. And so the coup de grace persists, negotiates violence with refusal to surrender the other cheek. No, in Gaza, people will not condemn the militants fighting for all their lives, and for anyone who does. When you say free Palestine, who is it that you're talking to? I'm going to read another poem kind of in the spirit of the part of the theme that has to do with freedom of expression and the repression of people speaking out about Palestine. This is about the Poetry Foundation's recent censorship of a review of Sam Sax's book. It's called Review, the Poetry Foundation's Special Issue 2023, Palestine and Israel. Uneager to pick a side, guaranteed to lose them their blood money, or their unsured reputation as the superlative journal of contemporary American horseshit, they remain agnostic toward ongoing genocide and call it a misunderstanding. Gaza calls on the world to riot. POFO calls on censorship and cuts a piece on Jewish anti-Zionism. Says, "We at the Poetry Foundation are saddened and deeply disturbed." The poem lacks surprise, lifted literatum from the modern PR playbook and reprinted from the summer of 2020. Their George Floyd era rebrand was cosmetic at best. Find a fall guy, say diversity, say accountability, uplift voices, say institutional racism. Finally, take the time to look up BIPOC poets who will overwrite the flowery company line for a flowery company paycheck, while the rest remains the same. What did anyone expect? Eli Lilly made a killing, making people hemorrhage money to stay alive and sometimes die, and his great-grandkid gave a killing to the poets. Manufacture a comfortable aesthetic, paradigm for the soft, palatable mouth. It's a too familiar grammar. All metaphor, lacks a volta, boring ending hugs the page, stays right where it belongs. Say humanitarian crisis. Say against oppression. Say we believe in the power of words. Say spaces for all. Say collaboration, equity. Say Palestine and Israel, as though they can both survive. And I've been thinking, I'm going to end with a poem by Palestinian poet Fadwa Tuqan. I unfortunately don't know who the translator is or translators are, but this is called The Deluge and the Tree. When the hurricane swirled and spread its deluge of dark evil onto the good green land, they gloated. The western skies reverberated with joyous accounts. The tree has fallen. The great trunk is smashed. The hurricane leaves no life in the tree. Had the tree really fallen? Never. Not with our red streams flowing forever, not while the wine of our thorn limbs fed the thirsty roots, Arab roots alive, tunneling deep, deep into the land. When the tree rises up, the branches shall flourish green and fresh in the sun. The laughter of the tree shall leaf beneath the sun, and birds shall return. Undoubtedly the birds shall return. The birds shall return. Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Wendy Trevino. Thank you to the organizers that put this together. Thank you to David Buuck for inviting me to read. And thank you to Stevie for that wonderful reading. I am going to read two poems by other people. The first one is To Those Who Follow in Our Wake by Bertolt Brecht. The translator is Scott Horton. 1. Truly I live in dark times. An artless word is foolish. A smooth forehead points to insensitivity. He who laughs has not yet received the terrible news. What times are these in which a conversation about trees is almost a crime? For in doing so, we maintain our silence about so much wrongdoing. And he who walks quietly across the street passes out of reach of his friends who are in danger. It is true, I work for a living, but believe me, that is a coincidence. Nothing that I do gives me the right to eat my fill. By chance, I have been spared. If my luck does not hold, I am lost. When I take what I eat from the starving, and those who thirst do not have my glass of water, and yet I eat and drink, I would happily be wise. The old books teach us what wisdom is, to retreat from the strife of the world, to live out the brief time that is your lot without fear, to make your way without violence, to repay evil with good. The wise do not seek to satisfy their desires, but to forget them. But I cannot heed this. Truly, I live in dark times. 2. I came into the cities in a time of disorder, as hunger reigned. I came among men in a time of turmoil, and I rose up with them. And so passed the time given to me on earth. I ate my food between slaughters. I laid down to sleep among murderers. I tended to love with abandon. I looked upon nature with impatience, and so passed the time given to me on earth. In my time, streets led into a swamp. My language betrayed me to the slaughterer. There was little I could do, but without me, the rulers sat more securely, or so I hoped. And so passed the time given to me on earth. The powers were so limited, the goal lay far in the distance. It could clearly be seen, although even I could hardly hope to reach it. And so passed the time given to me on earth. 3. You, who shall resurface following the flood, in which we have perished, contemplate, when you speak of our weaknesses, also the dark time that you have escaped. For we went forth, changing our country more frequently than our shoes, through the class warfare, despairing that there was only injustice and no outrage. And yet we knew, even the hatred of squalor distorts one's features. Even anger against injustice makes the voice grow hoarse. We who wished to lay the foundation for gentleness could not ourselves be gentle. But you, when at last the time comes that man can aid his fellow man, should think upon us with leniency. And the second poem I'm going to read is from Journal of an Ordinary Grief by Mahmoud Darwish. The translator is Ibrahim Muhawi. And it's a poem. Well, it's not a poem. This is just like prose mostly, but it's from the portion of the book called Silence for the Sake of Gaza. And I'm just going to read a portion of that. And Gaza is not the most polished of cities or the largest, but she is equivalent to the history of a nation because she is the most repulsive among us in the eyes of the enemy, the poorest, the most desperate, and the most ferocious, because she is a nightmare, because she is oranges that explode, children without a childhood, aged men without an old age, and women without desire. Because she is all that, she is the most beautiful among us, the purest, the richest, and most worthy of love. We are unfair to her when we search for her poems. Let us not disfigure the beauty of Gaza. The most beautiful thing in her is that she is free of poetry at a time when the rest of us tried to gain victory with poems. We believed ourselves and rejoiced when we saw that the enemy had left us alone to sing our songs while we left victory for him. When we dried the poems from our lips, we saw that the enemy had already built entire cities, forts, and highways. It would be unfair to turn Gaza into a legend because we will end up hating her when we discover she is nothing more than a small, poor city that resists. And when we ask what has made her into a legend, we will have to break our mirrors and cry if we have any dignity, or curse her if we refuse to rebel against ourselves. It would be unfair to Gaza to glorify her because our fascination will make us wait for her. But Gaza will not come to us. Gaza will not liberate us. Gaza does not have horses or jet fighters or magic wands or offices and capitals. Gaza frees herself of our attributes, our language, and of her conquerors all at once. And when we run into her once upon a dream, she may not recognize us because she was born of fire, while we were born of waiting and crying over our homes. True, Gaza has her special circumstances and her own revolutionary traditions. We say this to dissect, but well, not to dissect, but to disintegrate. The secret of Gaza is no mystery. Her masses are united in popular resistance. She knows what she wants, to drive the enemy out of her hair. In Gaza, the relation between resistance and the masses is that of flesh to the bone. and not that of the teacher to the student. In Gaza, resistance has not become a salaried position, and in Gaza, resistance has not become an institution. She does not accept supervision from anyone, and she does not allow her destiny to hang on anyone's stamp or signature. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here. My name is Ari Banias, and I'm going to read two poems. The first one is from my book, Asymmetry, and it was written probably 6 years ago. And it's a poem against the ordinary insidiousness of empire and colonial violence from within empire. When you look at a fence, do you see the fence? When the slats are cut in the shape of a spear or the shape of a new shoot in spring, can you tell the difference? Your mother puts you in that red and white dress and there are photos of it. Are you inside the fence? When she sees her cousin brought to the town square among the dead, stacked in the bed of a wagon, she said. When the frantic hummingbird darts in the field of tinsel and the grapevines shimmering, what is it you see? The surface of the water appears undisturbed when more video evidence is released. A little surveillance device on the seat, mouthing off silently. A fraction of you still believed this could change the outcome, that the outcome can seem other than your life. A single night of back-to-back reality TV. You feel your atoms go by on the logging truck carrying the strapped-down trunks of massive redwoods throttling north. You see a woman bowing over a trash can repeatedly, and she looks like she prays to, oh, help her. Who made you think that? If no amount of moving through the world with love, when even armies think themselves beautiful, or so you were told, if all the daily errands drown it out, does it have a name? When border agents empty gallons onto the desert floor on camera while smiling, when weighing whether or not to repeat this, what do you consult? Watching red berries on a bush shake and a red robin shit and the red brake lights of a Prius on a turn. When a low plane combs the birds from their treetops, your thoughts scatter to their familiar positions. If numbed now by emphasis, are you inside it? When fisher folk agree to saw their boats in half for a one-time payment, cash. Green opalescent feathers are green opalescent feathers. Artists who design border wall prototypes are artists who say they leave politics out of it. You trace the shape of those words in your mouth. Red tips of matches, red tips of drought-tolerant succulents, a garden hose coiled on a wooden post continents away. You try to separate pain from its subject. You try to separate yourself from its cause, while a man in cowboy pants declares the greatness of George Bush. You stack electronic gems one atop the next, and of course he is a donor. By remaining in the building, you become what the building contains. The joint in a polished oak bench, the exhausted cloth applying the polish. When by fucking so hard you try to make your body reappear, are you inside the fence? When you saw your neighbor keeping her head down and wondered if you should keep your head down. You heard your neighbor screaming in the street and knew you should also scream. And I'm going to read a poem in translation by the Palestinian poet Sami al-Qasim, translated by Abdullah Udhari. And before I do that, I just want to thank the organizers and everybody who's tuning in, and Free Palestine from the river to the sea. End of a discussion with a jailer. From the window of my small cell, I can see trees smiling at me, roofs filled with my people, windows weeping and praying for me. From the window of my small cell, I can see your large cell. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sophia Dahlin. Thank you everyone for these beautiful, beautiful words. I'm going to start with a poem by Khalid Juma, a Palestinian poet and writer. Oh, rascal children of Gaza. Oh, rascal children of Gaza, you who constantly disturbed me with your screams under my window. You who filled every morning with rush and chaos. You who broke my vase and stole the lonely flower on my balcony. Come back and scream as you want and break all the vases, steal all the flowers. Come back. Just come back. And I'll read 2 poems of mine. My friend posted a video of her kitten peeking from a cardboard castle entrance, scrabbling with its minute paws at some unseeable enemy on the floor. This was on Instagram. As happens, the scene was rapidly overtaken by another, a news clip of a scrawny Gazan child whose arms struck out cat-like as she dug herself free from the rubble of a building. I know nothing about this child. I've held this cat in my hands. There's no comparison, except our bodies are almost enough to save us. Hunting food and air are often enough to get us help, get us to us. She surfaced herself and her neighbors pulled her like a birth from her collapsed home. This is a piece I wrote early in the year, after we lost the poet Bernadette Mayer. And it's a poem called To Children. You step on the hem of elegance. You are elementary, dear sons. You are small songs, and I name you sonnet. You are born French, and I name you toilette. Born rich, you immediately relieve me of the cost of your caretake. I order you a mink Harvard. You put your diapers in the stable. You are not the ghost of any other. You look exactly like her in the eyes and mouth. You are not a cat snoring in the sun. When you dream, you are about to taste it. Glenn Gould would find you variable. You are fast at play, slower in the shower. The morning is a game to you. Vitamins chase you and you heal instantly. Your skin spits pins out hard, they ricochet. Only the blades of the fan entice you, so I must enchant your hands to fold. A little face is awash in wonderment. A happy child is implacable in judgment. 3/4 teachers are bad, you say. I am my own sauce. You bob your hair just like mine. When I cut it again, you stop dead in the stairwell. It's summer. It will be our last interaction. You ask me to sit in the back seat and say romantically, I've always needed someone back here with me. You take up a space at the table. Your hands go clatter, clatter with spoons in. You serve tea to our guests, but leave the cups out. You hand me the crumpled popsicle wrapper. You crouch in imitation of another species. When you are mad, you bark. I walk entirely through my own body. I come up with only images of you. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Hi, my name is Scout. I want to say thank you to David Buuck and Noah Ross for curating this hour. And thank you so much to the other Bay Area readers and readers internationally showing up for solidarity with Palestine. I'll read 3 or 4 poems. In light of recent events, and I would fall to tears at anything, blinds cracked and frayed, what they say about how a house is kept and in what kindness, how you can get inside the disarray, lights mild prohibitants, easy like a Saturday, a day you would prepare for a child, simple and inert. A docked ship, you could walk right on it, form a union, and when you walk off in a coordinated gesture, you are saying something about how the house is kept. A ship is not so different, slated between water and sky. Sometimes houses lay folded inside other houses endlessly in a children's book. What does it teach them? An elongated feeling, the feeling of a house. What does it teach me to know you see it and say, I saw you at the very end? A clown. Is the clown union? Would a clown walk off asleep at the wheel of this sinking ship? The child closes the book and eats a snack. Light diffuses around their small frame, and I fall to tears. The hands of a child. Longshoremen disembark no matter, the ship will leave without them. The child lay asleep in the shape of an angel. Was the clown a payoff or an accumulation of fear? Holding Saturday in stillness, the stillness of a house. I want to rip at its mild prohibitance. Where is the light of this poem? I can find only shapes around which it illuminates. I waited for the waiting to end in my giant shoes, lights only resident, and I could not fall, staking myself against stillness. Rose and knew your name. Wasp twisting in jawbone meat along the beach. I was trying to remove your foot from my hand and my neck. The city was a swarm around structures. Wasps are not carnivorous. Where they turn me away, money will go in my stead. And I keep waking up as someone else, gilded, DNR across my chest. I keep waking with a bag over my head, and my mouth becomes a hole out of which I can only express the most useless guilt. Wasps are not carnivorous, they are parasitic, and lay eggs in the body of the host. I keep waking with a hose in my hand and a lineage of its placement. In dreams you break no contact, snapping a puzzle in silence, and we walk across a floor covered in mattresses. They are for dreaming, I guess. You've dropped it, the tether, the tenor, the plot, the octave, the rhythm, the lyric. You don't want my help. I ask if you've tried caring less, and you look at me like, yeah, you idiot. But I can't rid myself of what's important, which is any of it. In the room the world is held in is quiet. Playing Usher in the house of Usher. Pressing into each other into the street, shouting Viva Palestina, and it rained faces of blue-eyed children who, upon collection, became property of the state. Our grief was a spiral of white phosphorus. Our grief was a lacrimator agent, indiscriminately sprayed. Rimbaud said we are standing in a field of corpses, and I saw him unfurl like a banner between branches. The ground moved to swell as if flooded with myth. Perhaps these contradictions could be stacked. What is the difference between a circle and a swan? Playing Usher in the house of Usher, soil smoothing over the fragments. False hope. My God, I am angry as I write this, and angrier when I'm done. 1,000 waters cracking, deterritorializing the sun. Pressed flowers and obsolete grammatical rules. This will be my last one. Flight of ideas. When the US could not enter the embassy to capture Noriega, they blasted hard rock. Furthering state interest is almost incidental. The Scorpions release Wind of Change and the Berlin Wall fell. There's an obvious reference to Jericho. At a concert, a man reveals he's CIA and asks the singer to whistle. Do you know where you are? I reach for what I don't. You're in the jungle, baby. Music begins to feel and think for you. What am I thinking through? Metering out a wish. More songs for the dictator. Finished with my woman, she couldn't help me with my mind. I'm down on my knees in a field of ivy, recalling Ana Mendieta, who emigrated as part of an operation to get children out of Castro's Cuba. In one photo, she's lying in a Zapotec tomb. At 36, she'll fly out a window, casual, like stepping into a corridor of air, like a thought you misplaced, like a whistle. If her husband pushed her, she would become the object. As he was never convicted, it remains subjective. We work with incoherent grammar, feeling toward what we know. Anna used blood as a medium, steeled herself on a table. This is all over the place, I am told, and 2 on the nose. She went to University of Iowa, whose ties to CIA front groups are well known. And on the 7th day, horns blow at Jericho, and the dictator relents, and the military plays the clash, and the state organizes itself with total conviction around the importance of poetry written with the alphabets of displaced children. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anahid. Thanks to everybody who's been involved in organizing this really remarkable event. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm going to read two poems, neither of which I wrote. The first one is by Maya Abu al-Hayat, and it's called Autobiography of Fear. The translation is by Yasmin Seal, and I first encountered this poem when it was sent to me by my friend Nagar Azimi. So thank you, Nagar, for sharing this poem with me. In the 26 years I lived in Palestine, I never took part in a demonstration, never threw a stone, never joined a political bloc, never took pleasure in explosions, never called on anyone to support anyone, and yet I lost my lover to a bullet in the head. A phone call saved me from a bullet in the head. My bedroom shook as I watched the bullets fly from behind the closet door. I was arrested on the side of the road. My car was blocked by a tank 20 times. I walked for 10 hours through the mountains to get home when the soldiers sent me back. I passed a checkpoint 2,500 times. I breathed in a full can of tear gas that had fallen at my feet. Another can my children breathed inside the car. The car's windows had to be replaced 3 times in a single month. I left my home, went back and swept the glass off the carpets and pillows. I lived for 6 continuous months under curfew, not counting Corona. I strolled through cemeteries in the company of girlfriends. I counted the bullets raining down on our neighborhood to find sleep. I knew the types of plane by their sound, the class of bomb by their smoke, the form of fear by its smell. I went out and came home. I ate and learned and washed, bathed and loved and gave birth to the rhythm of breaking news. And this next poem that I'm going to read is by the Lebanese poet Khalil Howie, who was born in 1925 and died in 1982, 2 days after Israel's invasion of Lebanon. And you can find it in a really great anthology of modern Arabic poetry called When the Word Burns, which was edited and translated by John Asfor. And this poem is called The Prisoner. My fear is gone now. Are my senses mad? Have the echoes returned? Is my head whirling? Who has shaken the prison night from my chest and that nightmarish wall? For an age, the blind stovepipe hole has been clogged with dust. But what is this? Now it is split by daylight, and an echo invites me to escape. The sun through the opening, the children's laughter, remnants of life in a wasted field that knew my shadow, my toil, my hand singing to the grain, all invite me to escape. Is that delirious echo back? Is it the whirling in my head? How often has that echo beguiled me? How often have my nails combed and scraped the prison wall and split on the deceiving stones? Close the prison door to daylight. It was long ago I dreamt of amnesty and escape, before the seconds rusted in my heart, before there was an echo to compute them, before the feverish waiting, before I was swallowed by the prison dark, before the dust gnawed at my eyelids, before my cramped limbs dropped into dust and decay, the bones scattered by mice feet to rot over the years. How can they draw together again, grow supple and live, or dream of a return? What return would death make to the feeble creature? What visions die in the smoke of the cafe? And what escape is there from one hiding place to the next? The jailer's foul tongue stirs poison in my wounds. The desire of the phoenix has died in the ashes, and she and the world conceal their mutual hatred. How will she draw together again, grow supple, and live? What nonsense does that insolent jailer mutter? He has brought me amnesty for punishment now that my bones have been rotting for years. Shall I leave them here and go my way, faceless, with hollow limbs, a wind-whipped ghost disgraced by the sunlight and the children's laughter, dodging between the walls? Close the prison door to daylight. It was long ago that I dreamt of amnesty and escape.
Hello again. Thank you to our readers and to everyone who's been joining in to this amazing live stream. It has been such a pleasure to organize with you all. We wanted to close out just with some quick final poems by other people. I wanted to read this one Sam Sachs poem called Anti-Zionist Abecedarian. After you've finished building your missiles and after your borders collapse under the weight of their own split databases, every worm is this, fertile and cursed, ground will be its own country. Home never was a place in dirt or even inside the skin, but rather just exists in language. Let me explain. My people kiss books as a form of prayer. If dropped, we lift them to our lips and mouth, an honest and uncomplicated apology. Nowhere on earth belongs to us. Once a man welcomed me home as I entered the old city, so I pulled out a book of poems to show him my papers, my queer city of paper, my people's ink running through my blood. Settlers believe land can be possessed. They carve their names into firearms and use this to impersonate the dead. We are visitors here on earth. Who but men blame the angels for the wild exceptionalism of men? Yesterday, a bird flew through an airport and I watched that border zone collapse under its basic wings. Thanks, everyone. I'll pass it to you, David, if you've got a poem. I think you're muted.
Yeah, you're currently muted.
Sorry. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. I'm going to read a couple poems real quick here before passing it on to Vancouver. The first are two short poems by the Kurdish poet Abdullah Pashu, translated by Alana Marie Levinson Labras on Deep Vellum Press, Dictionary of Midnight. And these are two poems from 1973 before Abdullah Pashu had to go into exile. To poets, if a word can't, sorry, let me try that again. To poets, if a word can't become a bullet for the rifle of the freedom fighter, if a word can't become a winged water bladder or winged bread to fly from trench to trench, then it might as well become a brush to polish the invader's boots. They drove me out. They drove me out because my poetry, like a defiant child, threw pebbles at the leader's glass palaces. They drove me out because my poetry crossed the red line and shone a brilliant light on stolen treasures. And I'll end with a brief poem by the Palestinian poet Najwan Darwish from the collection Exhausted on the Cross from New York Review Books, translated by Kareem James Abu Zaid. And this is called My Defeated Banner. If I could come back, I wouldn't come under any other banner. I'd still embrace you with two severed hands. I don't want wings in paradise. I just want your graves by the river. I want eternity at the breakfast table with the bread and oil. I want you, Earth, my defeated banner. Thanks, y'all. Solidarity.